Hello again everybody, and welcome to a MiG-15 mission called Scouting Trouble. This is part of a preview of the Museum Relic Campaign that is due out here very soon, that features the F-86 and the MiG-15. I've already flown an F-86 mission, and now we're going to have a look at a typical MiG-15 mission. So we're picking up in this mission sort of halfway through the campaign, so I'm going to skip a lot of the context and the backstory here, and just move straight into the mission briefing. Starting here, and we have word that one of our pathfinding helicopters has gone down just northeast of Poti in enemy territory, and the crew survived and they need an evac. And we have enemy troops from nearby towns spotted moving towards the crash site. We need to get in there, retrieve the crew, destroy the helicopter, and then get out again. Now, of course, I'm going to be in the MiG-15 providing cover and escort for a group of helicopters, and it says here that they'll already be en route to the crash site by the time that I get airborne. So we have a map of the area right here. I'm going to be coming from the same base I was out of in the F-86 mission, flying south down the coast, and then I meet up with the helos right here, just past the Nguri River. Actually, we were in the F-86 mission just to the north off the map. So we'll link up over the coast, and then once we get to Poti, and this is the Rioni River right here, we'll just be able to identify that as a landmark, turn left slightly to the crash site, which appears to be, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 miles inland from the coast along the river. And if I go to the mission planner, we can see the entire route laid out for us here. So yeah, just straight down the coast, and then identifying the crash site somewhere in this area. Let me bring up the satellite view, and it's just going to be, okay, so up the river, I'll have a couple of bridges right here to use as landmarks, and then, yeah, I think this will be no sweat at all. I'm assuming this field right here is going to be the crash site, although we don't have any real clues here as to the exact location. So I just need to look for the bridges. Actually, just follow the forest up, and about halfway up the forested area, just in this field to the right is where I'll be looking initially. Now we have to keep in mind that we have Sanaki Kolki up here to the east, and just a number of airfields out here that we could expect some sort of an air response from. So it's possible that I will be covering these guys, these helicopters that are starting up here, and then flying down the route from both the air-to-air perspective and the air-to-ground perspective in this mission. So I'm sort of prepared for anything here. Now, my loadout itself, it's an empty aircraft with the exception of a full gun load, and I'm going to be using the Matova Relic 1 paint scheme on this one. So the F-86 and the MiG-15 in the campaign have their own paint scheme available that I'm going to show one of which here. So full fuel load, full gun load, and that's all that we really need to see here. Navigation is going to be no sweat, it's just following the coast, so I don't really need to worry about radio navigation. And tuning into nav aids, which is probably a good thing. It's been a long time since I've done anything in the MiG-15. So the more simple I can make this on myself, the better. Okay, so I think that's all I'm going to really get or need to get from this mission planning screen. Let me go back to the briefing. And additionally, on the overview map here, we have a box saying Area of SAM Threats. So I just need to make sure that I absolutely do not go any further east than I need to. It'll just be from the crash site, maybe another 2 or 3 miles, or I don't know, a little bit further, until I can start to worry about having to absolutely turn back. And then the remainder of the briefing, we just have some more detailed instructions on how to get to and from the location, including some nav aids and some radio frequencies, and we're just going to stay on, my understanding is we're just going to stay on the airborne frequency of 4.15, and that should be by default what my MiG is set to, and not worry about changing the radios. There is some wind on this mission that I'll take note of, I'll be aware of it, but it's not really going to affect a whole lot what I do. If I happen to think of it, if I'm strafing ground targets, I'll try to aim just a touch in the direction of the wind to account for it. It's not really going to make that much of a difference at these speeds. And that, yeah, I think that's about all I need. If anything else occurs to me, I'll bring it up once I get into the cockpit and start to get the aircraft started up and airborne. So I'll see you there. I'll be right back. Okay, we're unpaused on the ground at Tsukimi. Let me see if I can remember how to do this. This is actually very simple. Basically, you just turn everything on, with 1 or 2 exceptions over here. I think I want to leave the bombs. Emergency tank jet I'll leave off since I don't have either of those. The rest of the stuff just goes on. Okay, left side panel, I need to hit everything except for the isolation valve. Okay, and what are you? Do I need to get you? That's just the air start switch. Okay, I'll leave that. Okay, I've got some lighting I can turn on up here. And actually, before I get too far, I need to remember that in the MiG-15, I need ground power to start, as we have some Hips Airborne heading up into the area. I wonder if that's... No, that can't be the group that I'm supposed to be escorting, but... Okay, let's go for F8, because they're already airborne in the area. Let me go ahead and request ground power on. And then one of my favorite features, something that I just wish was there on every aircraft, I'll have them place the wheel chocks. And it just drives me nuts whenever I start an aircraft up. I always, to run the engine up or to do some sort of a checkout like that, I always have to hold the brakes, which is, it drives me nuts, as you can probably tell from previous videos. Okay, so we got ground power on, we have chocks in place. Okay, I've got the guard off the button. I hear something. Oh yeah, a truck driving by. Yeah, I knew I heard something there. Okay, so what I want to do is to press the button for a couple of seconds. It's going to engage the starter. I'm just going to watch the RPMs. I forget the exact number. I think it's 600. I could be wrong. I probably am on that number. I'm going to start to open up the fuel flow lever down here. I believe the manual says to open it up to halfway, but what I always do is just sort of, by ear, crack it open and just ease it open, making sure that I don't really get any abnormal sounds out of the engine. Because it's so hard, at least to me, to come down here and to manipulate the thing and then look up here. So I just do it by sound. As we have the RPMs continuing to come up, we have the temperature coming up, and that's going to settle in there. And then my three position or three function gauge right down here for temperatures. And looks like 2 types of pressure right there. That's going to, yeah, those start coming up off the peg. And that I'm going to take as a good start. So, okay. That's good. Now let me go ahead and get some other stuff done here. I need to run the engines up until I get the generator light off. So I'm just gently increasing the throttle down here. Okay, lights off. So now I have the generator on. I can contact the ground crew and have them remove ground power. So with 8, electric power off, please. Okay, let me just contact ATC briefly. Okay, that's power coming off. So Tsukimi, I'll go to request startup. Okay, gotcha. Now, I know there's an engine warm-up procedure that would be done here. I can't remember the procedure. It has been probably, I don't know, it's been over a year, I think, since I've done any of this. So let me see, fast slave. Now I'm pointing, my little aircraft pointer there is about 165, which if I can find it, yeah, there we go, 165, that matches. Okay, good fuel status. Everything else is good up here. I'm supposed to do an isolation check, making sure that everything is... Okay, I remember what this is. This disables an automatic fuel flow feature, so now the fuel to the engine is just going to be just directly mechanically controlled by the throttle instead of going through this little... I think it's like a little pressure type deal with a diaphragm that, depending on how inflated or deflated it is, it allows fuel to the engine at a different rate. I could be wrong there, but I'll take that as a good check of the isolation valves. Now let me check my brakes. Okay, good pressure's left, good pressure's right. That is good. I have a good radio check, and I'm going to request taxi, because I'm not sure exactly what the timing is on this. Last time I just went through my... or at least in the F-86 mission, I just went through my normal startup process, which, well, it does take a while, and I was right on time. So that feels like a good start on this MiG-15. And I will arm the guns, or charge the guns, once I get out of parking right here. Since I'm aiming right at this radar, I would not want to take that out. And I'm going to go ahead and take it on out here to the right, get on the runway, and get airborne. So let's go chocks out. So F8 wheel chocks remove. Okay, so chocks are out. Let me advance it. I should start to unstick or start to roll forward right about there. Okay, let's go ahead and check the brakes. Looking good. And I'm just going to take it out to the right past the Mi-26, whatever the big helicopter is right there. And what else do I have? A couple of MiG-21s out there on the ramp. And steering in the MiG-15. It's actually a lot easier, I think, to do it in the MiG-15 than the MiG-21. The steering through differential braking, it's a fully castering nose wheel, so I just basically deflect the rudder pedals and then tap the brakes whenever I want to start to turn. So I just go pedals left, tap the brakes to straighten myself back out. Now to go a little bit pedal right. And then another trick, and I remember reading this it might have been in Steve Davies' Red Eagles book, or one of the books about the pilots who flew MiG-17s and MiG-21s, MiG-23s, was that, well, since the braking system was the same, or practically the same in those aircraft, that a lot of times the pilots, the U.S. pilots, would, instead of trying to do the differential braking, would just taxi fast enough so that you get some airflow over the rudder, which I was doing a little bit back there. But yeah, so if you get it going fast enough, it's subtle, but you can do subtle changes just by taxiing fast enough. Okay, I'm going to take it that I'm clear for takeoff. And just come out here, line up, and do a quick run-up check. And I'll also have to remember to get the canopy. I think that's probably about as close as I've ever come to taking off. Well, except for an A-10 mission where I took off with a partially, it was closed, but it wasn't lock canopy. I think it's the closest I've ever come to actually forgetting to do it. Okay, so let me reach back here and get the canopy lever. And that's going to slide forward. Okay, now I need to pressurize, so let's go ahead and turn this valve. I'll just put it in the intermediate, the sort of not hot, not cold, the warm setting, I guess. And yeah, I've got a good differential and good pressure coming up on the canopy itself. Okay, let me go ahead and enable my oxygen. So that's just, okay, this one's open. That was just rotating it all the way counterclockwise. So now it's just once I get up to an altitude where it's going to be appropriate for me to get supplemental oxygen, it's going to be available. Okay, let me go ahead and ditch the comms menu. Okay, I've got the brakes held. Now, let me just go around the cockpit real quick. Okay, flaps. Let's go ahead and go down to the intermediate position. Okay, so I've got the tab right there up. I'm going to take that as good. Now let me return it to the neutral position. Okay, I've got the hydraulic boost for my flight controls on. I'll just do a quick check. Okay, everything was looking okay there. Now that's about it. I'll disable the lights, the navigation lights that I turned on. Okay, that's good. And okay, gear, I'll go ahead and unlock it so that all I have to do is come over here and click it to retract. Okay, that should be good. Let's go ahead and run up the engines. And everything is looking fine. Temperatures, good pressures. And mainly I'm just sort of at this point just trying to catch myself back up on the aircraft. There's a lot of stuff that going by the just procedures I'm sure I'm missing. I don't really care about that at this point though. Okay, so hey, for example, let me see if I can get this squared away a little bit better. Okay, caged up, uncaged, that's just fine. Okay, radar altimeter, I'll turn it on, and that is going to settle in there just fine. Okay, I think that's about as far as I'm going to take. Let's go ahead and release brakes, throttles max. And there we go. I'm just going to correct, and that's where the airflow kicks in. Now I can just correct with rudder. I'm going to look for about 200 and just pull the nose up slightly. Kilometers per hour, that is. Okay, I'll go a little bit earlier than that, I guess. Okay, right about there. I'll just let it fly off since I didn't really take the time, I guess, to look up the exact speed there. Let me go gear up. And I just need to get flaps up here in a moment. Okay, let's get flaps up. And once I get the red lights on, okay, gear selector back to neutral. And I'll lock it. And flaps. Okay, the tabs are gone for both the gear and the flaps. Let me go ahead and select neutral on the flaps lever. And there we go. Now let me trim nose down. Okay, there we go. And I've got the trim. The trim that for the elevator is actually over here. And I've got it mapped. It's actually to my China hat on my Warthog HOTAS. Okay, well that's easy enough. Now the link up with the helos, and I'll be able to look out there. That's going to be Pody right there. The link up with the helos should be like right out here where my cursor is. And looking out there, I can't really see anything. It's way too far out to see as I need to get the trim That doesn't matter. I can go ahead and let it climb pretty steeply in the MiG. It doesn't mind so much having the nose up this far. Okay, so yeah, let me just take my time here and just go around and see what else I need to clean up. Okay, let me go ahead and get my guns armed and charged. So depress, and I should get a light down here. Okay, release. Okay, other gun, depress, release. And then the big 37mm. Depress, release, lights on. And I should be all set when it comes to the guns. Okay, stand by. Okay, doke. So 300 meters out there, and I remember seeing Hill 39 in the briefing package. That's a hill. You see Poti. Hill 39, I believe, is right there in the area of my cursor. Other side of the Nguri. Okay, so I'll be able to pick them up. I'll be picking them up and rendezvousing. It should be just here past the first river. And yeah, I can't quite pick them up from this far out, although, yeah, that's not surprising. And they're 300 meters, so I can cease. Yeah, I can cease climbing at this point. Okay, so I've got my guns armed. I've got everything squared away. That, yeah, if it hasn't occurred to me already, then it's a little bit too late. I just need to remember to. And I'll go ahead and do it to raise the cover right there. So now I'm going to be able to fire both guns, or both types of guns. Okay, yeah, that's the hill they were talking about right there, and that's actually where I was in the F-86 mission. There's Hill 39, so they're going to be... I might actually be able to pick them up at this point. Yeah, they're somewhere right out here in the vicinity of where I'm looking. Okay, so, well, let me, since I can see that far, let me go ahead and try to figure out where the downed aircraft is. Okay, so I was looking. Okay, I've got the river, I've got the forest, I've got the bend in the river. I was looking for the fields. That's the fields that, according to the briefing, it looked like everything was sort of converging on right there. And I can't see, well, it's obviously too far out to see anything as far as a specific target. But it does look clear out there, and I just need to remember to sweep around every now and then just for air contacts. You never know what's going to show up. And listen out for AWACS. I saw right here in AWACS channel, I didn't see in the briefing a frequency or anything. Okay, stand by. Okay, so these guys should at this point be right down below me. Okay, so I know that, yeah, I'm on time, and I'm in the right general vicinity now. Okay, so the briefing noted SAMs, so I just need to go no further really than right about there, that line that I'm drawing with my cursor. Because I have the airfield at Sunaki Kolki right there. I'm getting up into some clouds. I think this is, yeah, definitely as high as I want to take it. Which is, how high am I at this point? I'm at 4,000 meters, about, oh, what's that, about 12-ish thousand feet. So yeah, this is actually higher than I intended to get. So let me pull the throttle in, and I'll just gently descend as I approach Poti right out here in the Rioni River.